YouTube land. This is Daywalker225XXXX, and I'm going to be making a response to JTRILEY1, and the response is to a video he did, RNN News, who gave you a pedigree, SARGEWP, that damn JT. Alright, let's start off. First and foremost, the first thing that happened, I was at work. I was actually in my office doing, going over some schematics, and he wrote me a response. This response was over 4 months I wrote a comment on a video of his, and this comment was written over 4 months ago. However, in the video, I'll go over what happened in the video. He said to Sergeant Willie P that the spot you talk shit is the spot you get split. What the hell does that even mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. As a general rule, I try not to curse that much. Actually, I curse in some of my videos, but I'm not going to curse in this one. And that's going to be the last time I curse in this, because, when people curse a lot, it's a sign of ignorance. And I can pretty much tell that based on the fact that JTRILEY1 has to curse every other word in one of his videos, he doesn't really have much in the way of a vocabulary in order to express himself without doing so. However, he then said, how can you critique someone when you have no knowledge of them? Well, perhaps he should ask himself that. I mean, he goes in on any and everyone who disagrees with him about anything, yet fails to offer any factual evidence to support it. Then he goes on about being raised in hell and how he listens to undertones and inflections in people's voices to know if they're giving an emotional response as opposed to an intellectual one. But what if somebody does the opposite, JTRILEY1? How do you tell then? How do you tell if, someone's able to mask that? By your logic, you'd be at a loss, or worst case scenario, possibly dead. Because in your world, like you said, you live in hell. No telling what might or might not happen. I was in the military. I was in Iraq for a while, and I was the kind of person, I used to have to deal with prisoners. I used to have to deal with people trying to kill me on a daily basis the entire time I was there. And it got to the point where, I could be laughing and joking with my friends and smiling in someone's face and blowing their fucking brains out. And, it's just what I'd had to do. At the same time, I could be standing there and someone, blow one of my friends' brains out standing less than 5 feet away from me. It just is what it is, but I don't let things like that shake me for the most part. But anyways, you then go on to tell Sergeant Willie P that you're his psychological evaluator and that he isn't smarter than you. But once again, where's your empirical evidence of that? In order for you to make a charge, you have to be able to prove it. And, I can say whatever I want on here, but can I actually prove it? The things that you say, you make all kinds of wild accusations and you go off on people that don't necessarily agree with you all the time. And you can't prove any of it. It's just conjecture and speculation on your part. If you can actually prove what you're saying, that's one thing, but I've never seen you prove anything that you've said on here. The other thing is, you accuse him of talking down to people, yet you came on my page calling me all sorts of names and telling me that it was impossible for me to talk over your head, and basically attempted to defend the fact that you'd go off on a black man, but in your own words, I can't pull that addressing any white people, let's use the word excrement, because I said I'm not going to curse anymore, or feces on you. And you're right. because you don't do it. You make no mention whatsoever addressing what white people do here in America to black people. You constantly go off on tangents on any black man that has anything to say that you don't particularly care for. You, my friend, are a joke. And let's get back to your video, since that's why we're here in the first place, right? You then go on to state that you're here for your quote unquote, let me quote you, young niggas, to give them some knowledge. Are you kidding me? What can the blind possibly learn from the blind? I mean, you know, what are you going to share, JTRILEY1? How to grab your ankles? Perhaps how to wash out your boyfriend's underwear, booty warrior? Because for one to impart knowledge, one must first possess it. And it's clear to me that you do not either possess any knowledge aside from that which can be divulged as a result of a stint in the Florida penal institution, rhetoric, or the fact that you become emotional as a result of people disagreeing or not co-signing with anything you say. I also dare you to do an entire video refuting any of this without using any expletives or vulgarity. Personally, I don't think you can. You then chastise the man for putting people down at the 2-minute and 40-second mark, yet at the 4-minute and 12-second mark, you were doing the same thing. You know, you were doing the exact same thing you accused him of doing. You went off into your tirade. Then you asked Sergeant Willie Pete about his pedigree, in which, you know, it's even in the most loosely interpreted sense means his lineage or family history. All right, what you went on, the tangent you went on about that had little or nothing to do with, you know, what someone's pedigree actually is. You know, you talked about your environmental or your condition or your environmental conditions and what you grew up around. However, that has little to do with your actual lineage. You know, your environment can be changed. If you would have grown up rich, you would have had a completely and totally different view on life than what you do now. Experiencing what you experienced in life gives you a different outlook on what you see on a day-to-day basis. So you can't necessarily fault Sergeant Willie Pete because he didn't grow up the same way you did. And I can't do that to anyone else, and I don't do that to anyone else. However, I guess it's okay for you to judge people and your opinions to outweigh everyone else's when they don't agree with you, as usual. Then you went on to say, and I'm quoting you, "The goals in your mouth don't define nobody." Really? Since when? Funny, but your very skin color, which you actually have no control over, defines you. So why would a black man seeking employment in a time where a brother with a pedigree and no criminal convictions can't even get work, but a white man with one can? You know, riddle me that, Batman. If anything else, you need to utilize any and all resources at your disposal, as opposed to limiting yourself to opportunities that may not necessarily be there. Remember, just like you're looking for work, other people are too. And if you make the person doing the hiring uncomfortable, you won't be getting hired. Know why? Because just based on the fact that you misspell things on here is reason enough to disqualify you, in my opinion. Then you attempted to explain that where you're from, it's what y'all do. But if you presented yourself as a man about his business as opposed to being street, your opportunities would increase. Either way, speaking as a person who's hired and fired quite a few people, I'll say that as a representative for a Fortune 500 company, I wouldn't hire you based on your appearance alone. Then you defend your position again, at least not in a corporate capacity, you know, in a where you'd be, you know, working around people making a lot of money. No way in hell. No, there's no way I'd hire you for a job like that. Put you in the mailroom making $8.50 an hour, sure. Put you in the boardroom talking over, you know, making presentations and, you know, giving giving training to people. No way in the world. I'm at the 10-minute mark. I'm actually gonna make another video. There's gonna be a part 2 to this. I'm gonna go on ahead and sign out here, and I'm gonna stop at the part where I'm talking about your appearance and why I wouldn't hire you. I'm gonna sign out now. This is Daywalker225XXXX signing out. See you next time, YouTube.